Welcome back, everybody, to Fix Your BS, the podcast where we dive deep into belief systems that shape our lives and hold us back from achieving our dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Pursley, also known as Dr. G. And in each episode, we explore powerful conversations with successful individuals across business, money, relationships, health, and personal growth. So join us as we unpack their journeys, challenge limiting beliefs, and discover practical insights to help you build your dream life on your terms. It's time to fix your BS and unlock your full potential. Today, I've got somebody that is a return guest, the man, Jeff Fenster. He is the CEO of Everbowl. If you've never heard of Everbowl, you should know about it. It is an amazing place, and we'll talk about that today. And we're also going to talk about, he is the author of The Relationship Bank Account. One of my personal favorites because it's so simple. And I think it's something that we forget. So we're going to talk a lot about relationships because that's something that in our country, there's just a lot of things that are divided and our relationships are being affected by that. And I want to talk a lot about that. So Jeff, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks for having me back. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of the show, what you guys are doing, the community that you have, and just the messaging that you're bringing, right? Helping everybody destroy any of these glass ceilings that they believe are standing in their way towards achieving success across those 5 pillars and in life. Success is something that is formulaic, and so it can be applied to all areas, and you shouldn't find that you're not able to succeed in certain areas of life. And so by doing this and bringing attention to it, I think you are helping a lot of people in so many ways. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And actually what you just did ties back into your book so well. Talking about, praising someone for what they're doing instead of being jealous or holding some sort of grudge against them and saying things like, oh, it must be nice. It's promoting them and saying, hey, man, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're living your dream. Why do you think so many people get into that trap where they believe that there's a glass ceiling or they believe they're not worth success, or that they're not, they're not able to do it, or it's not available for them?
Mostly because they're tired, and they're tired because they've been running for weeks, months, years, decades to achieve some level of success in whatever pillar we're talking about. And they feel that they can't achieve it and there's a reason or something standing in their way, that ceiling, that wall. And so instead of taking a step back and saying, am I just running in place all day and not going anywhere? And how am I missing the mark? They then see somebody else either as real success or perceived success on social media. And then they build a little bit more resentment around that to say, well, they're lucky because, or they got a break because, or it's because of my fill in the blank. And then they turn into a victim, which doesn't allow them to move forward. Instead of understanding that really it's just they might not have all of the ingredients for the recipe or the formula. And so they need to spend some time analyzing what is missing from their formula so they can Kaizen their way and ultimately break through that glass ceiling and realize, oh my gosh, success is so obtainable for me. I just didn't realize, or what I didn't know. And some friends of mine have coined this so well, and I use it all the time now, the Mathis twins, but exposure leads to expansion. And until you're exposed to the right way to do something to get that level of success, as soon as you're exposed, you can expand your abilities to do it. And if you don't realize it's possible, like the 4-minute mile, if it's not possible in your brain, you're not going to do it. And until you see somebody accomplish it, it didn't realize it was obtainable. And then hundreds of people do it within weeks, right? So it's really just fatigue, because everyone is gung-ho and excited when they're young and just jumping into something. They are filled with optimism. They're just got that passion. And then over time, not seeing the results, not recognizing and learning how to win stack and find the small wins along the way to keep them excited and the momentum going and what they need to be emotionally connected to that goal, they get tired, complacent, and then start to point fingers as to all the reasons, whether they believe they're accurate or cemented, as to the challenges that stand in the way of success. And success really is a formula, and you can be successful at everything you do if you figure out how to apply the formula and you do it consistently.
I totally agree. That's why I talk about mentorships. And one of the things, and I want to get your take on this, because one of the things that I tell people before they join the group, the Fix Your Belief Systems movement that we're really working on creating, where we affect millions of people's lives, I talk about being responsible, taking responsibility for your life, for where you are in life, for the things around you, the people around you, your actions, all those things. Now, I always talk about responsibility, taking responsibility being the opposite of victimhood. Is that something that is that something you instilled in your life and tell your people that you work that you have? I mean, you have hundreds of employees. Um, Tell me about that. I mean, let's talk about that. Open that up.
Yeah. I mean, I think victimhood is a dangerous place to be because no one's a victim. There might be a victim to a specific event or a specific action. If I rob you at gunpoint, you are a victim, right? You're a victim of a crime. But if you allow that to then percolate into the rest of your life moving forward, that's the problem. So for a moment, you could be a victim, but you're not a victim forever. So what are you going to do tomorrow to overcome that and take accountability and extreme ownership of the fact that I dictate my outcomes? I dictate
Mm.
every choice I make. I can choose to do this podcast with you, go to the grocery store, be in an area that I should or shouldn't be around people I should or shouldn't be around, put my energy and effort into these areas. I am completely responsible for the outcome of all of my choices. Sometimes things don't go your way. Winning is different than success. So you say, well, look at certain athletes, and sports is a great metaphor for a lot of these things because it's really easy to see the whole game and the end. But this athlete tried really hard. Their team did everything they could and they lost in the championship, or they lost in the playoff game and they didn't win. Well, winning and success are different. Did they have a successful season? I could argue yes, even if they didn't win the championship, because they did the things necessary to win the championship. There's not always more than one winner. So if both of us are doing everything right and we're competing, one of us will win and one of us will lose, but we could both be successful because if we apply the formula accurately and we set ourselves up to win consistently and over time, then it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when I win the championship if you beat me this time. It's a matter of when I achieve all the results I want. It just might not be today or in this moment. And so when you're a victim, you don't allow yourself to do it. You give these false narratives about blame and, oh, well, I grew up poor, or I grew up in a wrong neighborhood, or I didn't get a chance and exposed to higher education, or my spouse cheated on me, or my employee quit, or my vendor went out of business and stiffed me. Like, these are all things that happen to everybody equally. But the amount of attention that you put into it, the amount of your own mental power, your heart, your soul, your fibers, your team's fibers that you put into these things, you're making them bigger than they have to be. One of the things I get asked quite a bit is how come I don't spend more time talking about the things that don't go my way? And the truth is, I don't spend much time thinking about them outside of the lesson I needed to derive from it and then immediately apply it so I don't have that same result. I don't want to relive the bad times. I want good times. So I give very little emotional attention to bad things that happen. I take what I have to get out of it. I spend and analyze as much as I need to, and I live in the moment as much as the minimum amount, the most amount required to make it the minimum amount I spend. And then I immediately apply it to the next thing. And I'm so focused on a new goal that I'm excited again. And I don't care that COVID happened and I had to shut restaurants down. I dealt with it. I don't care that inflation is high. I don't care that supply chain is crazy. I don't care that some of my investors that were going to buy franchises walked away during the election because of pre-election because of the state of the union and the economy. I don't care if my team doesn't win the Super Bowl or what happens. They happen. I care for a moment and then I'm on to the next. And so we've got to become and recognize that your windshield is a certain size and your rearview mirror is a certain size for a reason. You need to be looking forward and we need to keep moving forward. And race cars don't have rear views because they don't need it. So let's go.
That's awesome,
and what are we
man.
doing today to win today and tomorrow? And yesterday's victim moment doesn't help me do that.
That is, dude.
And I also will say a lot of people hear these kinds of words and roll their eyes because I'm not the first person that you've talked to that has probably said something similar. But what I want to point out is when you're looking to figure out how to be successful and what you can get from a show like this is the fact that, Dr. G is interviewing lots of different people who have found success in their own way. And you've got to say, okay, what are the commonalities of success? Much like my show, it's all about success formula. What are the common traits successful people apply again and again and again and again and again? And you're going to start to learn they don't spend time being victims. So if you find yourself and catch yourself doing that behavior, that's the first thing that you need to start to change, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So if it's not working the way you're doing it, then have a little humility and trust that there's a better way, and then find it and apply it. And when you do, you're going to start to realize, oh my gosh, it really was potentially that simple.
And you wasted a lot of time in the meantime,
That's right.
focusing on the wrong things. I talk about that a lot. What you focus on is what you feel. You become what you think about. In fact, I say this on like probably almost every episode because it's so true. All religious leaders in the history of this world have all agreed on one specific thing, and that's you become what you think about. And if you're focused on, like you said, the things that go wrong, you will become someone that experiences things that go wrong all the time. Couple
That's right.
things that I was frantically writing because you just threw so much stuff there that is so great. That was really a formula of success. That first like minute and a half, it was a fire hose that people need to re-listen to. But one of the things, Mike Tyson, back in an interview that he did before one of his fights, and I don't know when it was, but it was probably late 1990s. But you can look it up on YouTube. But he talked about somebody asked him, "What if you lose?" And he said the reaction he had, the first reaction was like he was taken back. Like that wasn't even an option. What do you mean? That's not even a thought that I have. Like he had it was so foreign to him because all he focused on was movement towards his goal, which is what I think success really is. In fact, that's one of the best definitions I've ever heard is success is movement towards a worthy goal. And you get to define whatever that worthy goal is, as long as you're moving toward it. So yeah, talk to me about that. Did you ever see that interview with him? And is that what you're really talking about?
Well, I didn't see the interview, but I agree wholeheartedly that the idea of losing, I mean, I don't spend, like, what if your business doesn't work? What if that initiative doesn't work? What if that ad campaign doesn't work? What if you bomb on stage? What if your book doesn't sell? Sure, all these things can happen. But what if they do? What if it does work? What if it does sell? What if I do win? So rather than worrying about a result, which I can't get, no one can guarantee a result. I can't tell you if it's going to rain or not tomorrow. That's not inside my control. But what I can do is be the person that can win and do the things that are necessary to win, no matter what is thrown at my way. Meaning, if I was Mike Tyson in that circumstance, I don't spend time worrying about losing because my only question is, did I do everything possible to put myself in the best position I can be with my current skill set and the amount of time I had, the resources available that I could procure and find, and leave everything on the table. So regardless of the outcome, I have no regrets. I have nothing to blame. I did the best I physically, mentally, and emotionally could under the constraints of the activity in front of me. And if you do that, you're this thing called remarkable. And if you do that consistently, then you start to become very good at what you're doing. And over the time, you become an expert. And over time, you become a perennial winner. And everyone's looking at you going, what are they doing? And Kobe Bryant had a great quote on the same thing, which was he got asked by a rookie in the NBA after, he'd been in the league 15 years. This is probably 2014, 15. And a high-level rookie came in and was playing the Lakers and got to watch him pregame. And he watched him for an hour doing the basic stuff that elementary kids learn. And after the game, Kobe scored like 40 or whatever. And he went up to Kobe and said, I have a question. You're the best player in the world. Why are you spending so much time doing elementary basic moves? And he said, why do you think I'm the best player in the world? Because he does all the things that you have to do consistently. And that's the other key of success. Consistently. How you do anything is how you do everything every single moment. So if you build yourself to do things consistently less than optimal, less than your best, you're going to get less than your best results because you haven't trained the muscle. One of the best things that ever happened to me was one of my biggest victim, poor me moments as a kid. I'm a big time sports guy, athlete, high level sports my whole life, but I was little. I was 5'5" as a freshman in high school, 110 pounds, trying to play running back against other guys that had not only had better genetics long term, but it also hit puberty earlier and were the men when we're still boys. And it was hard to compete. So I had to work my ass off over and over and over and over again, not only to compete, which I can, but then to win the confidence of a coach who looks at two people and instantly chooses the one that looks better just for their respected activity, right? So I had to overcome all that. Well, I used to kind of feel like a victim in my emotions, right? I was sad, like poor me, like this isn't fair. Like I want it more. I work harder than all these guys, and I'm just smaller, and I can't change that. Like it just felt like a poor me moment. Fast forward in life, those people who had that advantage early on got to leverage genetics, raw talent, and all of these things So they never built the muscle on hard work. They never built the muscle on no quit, grit, and relentlessness. I did. So now as an adult, I crush people more skilled and more talented than me simply because of those three things. I ain't going to quit. I'm relentless. I have the grit, and hard work is something that I don't know anything else. And so I got to train a muscle early on in my life that some of my peers in sport, I'm using it as an example, but it's true in academia. Very intelligent, high IQ individuals who had to never study. Well, then they get to the point where they do and they don't know how, right? Because they never had to. Same thing in all walks of life. And so that's kind of one of those things that I can consistently work hard. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people. They think they're working hard, but they don't even realize they're just doing the basics. It just feels hard because they never had to before.
That's something I was actually thinking and I was going to say, and I actually wrote Kobe Bryant down when I wrote Mike Tyson down earlier, because I have a really good story about that too. But I was thinking, the things that the more you put yourself in a position of working hard, an average individual would say, wow, what I'm doing extra compared to the average individual. Well, that extra just exponentially grows, where it's like, the average individual is like, I don't understand how you get so much done. And you're like, well, I just feel like I'm working a little harder than I used to, because that little bit harder, that little edge, that relentlessness, the no quit, the grit, that sort of thing, it just kind of, it builds, it compounds over time. I think we live in a society where people expect to get everything now. And I was in that position for a long time. I started a business and I expected it to grow immediately. And I didn't realize the amount of time and energy and effort and cultivation. It's like planting a seed that it takes, and it just it compounds over time, just like you mentioned. So I love developing the skill of it and enjoying the process of developing the skill of it, to where you say, I work hard. Well, it just becomes who you are. It's just work. What do you mean?
And working hard isn't just hours. Because the other confusion a lot of people make is they think when I say, oh, you got to work harder than everybody else, it means you got to work twice as long. Well, sure, that's one component, but it's also how you work and what are you working on? Because so many people like to work on and do the things that they're good at and they enjoy. And they don't like to work on and do the things they don't enjoy. And to use another Mike Tyson quote, because you brought him up earlier, he has another quote about it, which says, if you don't do the things you hate with the same passion and exuberance and effort as the things you love, you're not going to win either. So if you hate, using Mike Tyson, if he hates running on a treadmill, he runs on a treadmill longer than he bare minimum has to. And if he likes hitting the big heavy bag, he does that too, but he doesn't spend most of the time hitting the heavy bag, which is what most people do in their life, right? I like to do this part of the job. I hate this part of the job. So I spend most of my effort doing this, and I work hard on the things I like, and I don't work hard on the things that I'm probably need to put more effort into because I'm not yet excellent or remarkable at it. And so that's the other piece where I say, you're working really hard. You're spending 12 hours a day and you're going not where you want to be. And you're wondering why. How are you spending that time? Because hard work in the wrong area is just as useless and wasteful as not working at all. And then I'd rather you not work hard and spend your time learning, like the old adage of, if you give me 5 hours to cut down a cherry tree, I'll spend the first 3 sharpening my axe. There's a reason for that. What do you need to do to improve, and what are those areas? Where are you inefficient? Where are you not yet at the level you need to be to get the results in that area you need to understand? So if it's your finance and you're making good money, but you're not building wealth and you're living paycheck to paycheck, is your financial aptitude where it needs to be? Do you need to take and listen to financial podcasts, read some books, take a course, brush up those skills? Do you have those skills? And do you feel that you've put enough effort in those skills to learn how to put your money to work and make it turn into wealth? Because you're not going to get rich off your paycheck. You're going to make money off a paycheck, right? If it's in your business, what are those areas that you're letting go because you just don't like it? If you're in sales, are you making the cold calls? Are you working on your script? Are you working on your talk track and objection handling? Or are you just kind of waiting for incoming leads and only focused on the warm leads and not the cold ones? Are you calling customers to ask them and deal with the painful conversation of hearing all the things that you're not doing well as a company so you can learn from that and improve? No? Well, then fine. You may be working the same amount of hours as me, but I'm working on things I'm not good at and I need to improve so I can work harder tomorrow and make those happen and become the company or the guy or the, pick whatever you are necessary to have that success.
So, I mean, what you're talking about is the expectation. What do you expect of yourself? Do you expect to win, or do you expect to be mediocre? Do you expect to barely get by? Do you expect to lose? Like, what is your expectation? which
Because
is
everyone wants the chair until they realize what's required of the chair, the job, the position, the person, right?
yep.
Everybody wants to everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do what lions have to do. Well, that's a question you have to ask yourself. What do you really want? What is that expectation? Are you willing to succeed over everything else? Is that the most important thing in whatever pillar? It doesn't just have to be business. Is it your health? Well, if it's your health, are you going to get out of bed and go exercise today, even when every fiber in your being says don't? I'm tired. I'm sore. I'm not feeling well. I just don't want to. The couch is warm. It's cold outside. Sure. All those excuses are there for everybody. But if you want the result, you got to do the work.
It's pretty simple, really. I mean, like you said, and I tell this to people all the time, we make it harder than we really need to. If you figure out what you really want and you write down what that is, the end result, then it's pretty simple to backtrack to where you are and say, okay, well, the first step is this. And you just start changing little things that turn into big things. And then it just becomes who you are. Man, I really love that. I'm going to tell you the story about Kobe really quick between winning and losing. He was asked on a interview one time. It was on a show. And they said, a lot of people that are successful in this is basketball, but in sports in general, they're driven by one of two things, either the fear of losing or the joy of succeeding or the joy of winning. And they asked him, which one pushes you more? And he actually said neither.
Yeah.
He said, my goal is to be the best I can be, no matter what. Whether we win or lose, it's irrelevant. Did I do the best I can? And you literally hit on that exact topic of, did I put everything out there and do everything that I could to give the best outcome that's possible? Not did I win or lose? And I really thought that was amazing as well. And you basically hit on the exact same thing.
Because otherwise you get defined by the result. And
Yeah.
That's out of your control. And if you want to ensure you're successful in life, you got to control the controllables. So I can't control how the ball breaks, if a referee makes a bad call, if a big client of mine goes out of business or chooses somebody else, or my top employee wins the lottery and decides to retire. I can't control those things. Those are out of my control, no matter what. But can I create a company culture that's going to attract world-class talent? So if that happens, I can attract somebody else, right? Can I make it to where we do all the things that are necessary of a winning team? So if a referee makes a bad call and we lose this game or this season, next year, in the absence of that, we win, right? Can I make it to where consistently over time, I'm in a position to win in whatever it is I'm after? If the answer is yes, then I'm doing the right things. And if the answer is no, and you're not seeing the results, you got to take a step back. And the challenge I hear a lot from this moment is it's like, well, I've been losing in life. I'm not getting the success. I hear you, Jeff, but I then feel like I am doing that and I'm not seeing results. And that's because you're creating a milestone that's too far away. And you got to do daily moments. You've got to win the day. So what is a win today, right? So exercise is a good, easy metaphor for me to share an example. You're out of shape. You want to start an exercise program. January 1st is coming. Everyone's going to say January 1st and go sign up for the gyms. And it's going to be the new year, new me. We're going to get in shape. Okay. Well, they put on their gym clothes. They go to the gym January 2nd. They work out for 30, 40, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, more than they should because their body isn't ready for that. They come home. They either are injured or they're unbelievably sore for the next 4.5 days where they can't move and they struggle and probably don't make it back to the gym, or they make it one more time and then they quit. And that's why the famous thing in gyms is they're packed the first week of January and dead the first week of February. So what if you change the narrative? January, new year, new me. I don't like picking a date too far in advance. You should start today. But if you're going to start January 1st, what if you just put on your gym clothes and watch TV? Can that win the day? Sure. Okay. You did that. Tomorrow, can you put on your gym clothes and walk to the mailbox? Yeah. Awesome. You won that day. The next day, can you walk or run to the second mailbox? Yeah. Okay. The next one, can you put on your gym clothes and go to the gym and just do one lap around the gym and maybe do one exercise, but that's it? Yeah. Awesome. Now you say, well, Jeff, I can do more than that. Great. Then do more than that. But see, I created things that I can do every day and win. So when you say, how's your workout program going? Awesome. I'm 100% consistent on my goal. 100%. So now we're 2 weeks in and I'm still 100%. And now I'm going to the gym for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to the gym for 16 minutes. Then 17 minutes. Then 18 minutes. And not only am I building my body up to handle the workload so I don't have those major crevices where I have to overcome so much internal resistance, But number two, I'm building the habit of putting on my gym clothes every day and making sure I'm thinking about this behavior. I'm building the habit of going to work out and making that a part of my life and who I am. So I am catering my life around this event. So when we get to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and I need to put in a good hour and I need to do it most days, it's not starting from zero to hero. I'm starting at a position where every day I put on my gym clothes. Every day I know where they are, and if they need to get washed, they get washed because I have to wear them tomorrow. Every day I tell, well, I got to go to the gym and work out. When I'm talking about my after work, pre-work, during the day activities, that becomes a part of who I am. Like I have to eat dinner, right? I have to take a shower. I have to brush my teeth. So now I've created working out as part of my life and my identity. Now it's not a question of if I'm going to be healthy and successful this year. I am. It just might take me an extra 3 or 4 months than I thought of. Well, if I work 2 hours a day, day one, when I haven't been working out, well, sure, but you won't sustain that. It's unsustainable. So I've created a Kaizen win the day and win stack model to 6 months from now, come July of 2025. Yeah, of course I work out. It's who I am. And I'm in shape. And now I'm winning. And I'm succeeding at my fitness goal of that. Same thing with a diet. You go from eating terribly to I'm going paleo, no carbs, no sugar. All I'm going to eat is salads, no dressing. No, you're not. You won't sustain it. So how about today, you just add a carrot to your terrible diet because you don't eat vegetables. So just eat 1 carrot today. Tomorrow, eat a carrot and an apple. Still eat everything else. Don't punish yourself because you want the ice cream sundae. Eat your ice cream sundae. At dinner, try to eat a healthier choice in something you like. If it's pizza, don't get the greasy all together pizza. Maybe do a little lighter cheese or lighter sauce or have 1 less slice or 1 less bite. And every day you do that, again, same thing. Over time, you're going to be eating healthy. So I don't like diet. I like replace, right? I still eat bad, but I say don't just immediately go extreme because extremes aren't going to work. It's what you consistently do. And so you've got to create the thing where you are recognizing and cherishing and seeing a win every single day. And when you do that, you don't ever get discouraged, which is what kills most people's success plan.
I love that, man. Like what you're talking about is becoming a new person, and you can't do that overnight. It takes time, it takes repetition, it takes consistency, and also give yourself a little bit of grace. I know people are so hard on themselves. They'll miss a day and they'll freaking drop out. And you're like, well, you missed 1 day. Okay, well, that sucks. Don't do that. I'm going to work on not doing that again. I'm going to get right back on to where I was. Like I said, man, we make some things so complicated, but I really operate on this. And I think this is exactly what you're saying. The be, do, have principle. People want to have this result. They don't realize it's not doing the things you need to do in order to get the result. It's who do you have to be in order to do the things you have to do, which is really what you're talking about. Be consistent, become that person. You said it's who you are. It's who I am. I am now that person. I just, that's so true. The be, do, have principle. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. It's another way to say, show me your habits and I'll show you your results. I don't need you to tell me your results. I can just look at your habits and I know.
Exactly. One of the things I like to point out to people on that is, when you talk about who you believe you are, is I talk about, most people don't smoke nowadays. There are some people that maybe vape or something, but for the most part, most people don't smoke. I'll ask them when they're talking about weight loss, they're talking about different things. And I'll say, look, if I came up with you and offered you a cigarette, what would you say? Most people would, if they don't smoke, they'd say no. Right. And I say, well, why did you tell me no? And he's like, because I'm a non-smoker. I don't smoke. That's who they believe they are. It's the same thing when you're talking about somebody that goes to the gym all the time, because I'm a person that works out. It's just what I do. It's who I am. It's like almost so like they didn't even think about it. It's just, what do you mean? That's just who I am. That's what I do. I show up on time. That's just what I do. I always show up on time or early. That's it. That's who I am. Like, it's not even a question,
Correct. It's like when I go to the doctor and they say, hey, how many days a week do you work out? And I say every day. Because I don't work out 2 days a week because I'm following a program. I work out every day because I'm trying to be a healthy human being. I want my health. Right. It requires me to be active every day. Does that mean that there will be a day in my life I don't? Of course. But my modus operandi of a traditional week is 7 days a week I exercise. 7 days a week I take a shower. 7 days a week I brush my teeth. Is there a day where I'm camping and I might not shower? Sure. But it's rare. So if you ask me how often do I brush my teeth? Every day. Because that's who I want to be. A healthy, clean, good hygiene human being. So those are the behaviors necessary to accomplish that. And so you just have to look at yourself and say, am I doing the behaviors necessary to get the result I want? Most people want the result, but they're either not sure of what those behaviors are, or they know what they are, but they don't have a plan to accomplish it. They seem too hard for them. And then they go, well, I can't do those things. You can do those things. You're just not yet ready to do those things. So we got to set micro goals to get you and build a foundation to be able to do the things that you think you need to do right now.
I love the micro goals because there's so many self-help people out there that will say you have to take massive action. And when you take massive action, you'll get massive results. Where that might be true. You take massive action, you get massive results. But most people, and I'm in the same boat, I need to build up to that massive action. It doesn't mean you take massive action right now. I'm going to, go in and I'm going to clean out the entire refrigerator and replace it with salad. Like, no, you're not. I mean, if you do, you're probably going to get your boat's going to flip over real quick within a couple of days. It's just too big of a change for most people. Huh?
Yeah. DoorDash will be there later tonight.
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
Well, it's how you define massive, right? Because massive action doesn't always mean throw out all the food and just have salad. Massive action could be making the decision today that I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to commit to a lifelong of health. And what does that mean? It means I'm going to take massive action over time. Massive action doesn't have to be one event, one big moment, right? Burn the boat or you didn't do it. No, that's not it. Massive action could just be, I'm creating a sustainable plan, because unless your life is over in 30 days, why does your health goal have to be over in 30 days?
Yep. That's why I think most people fail in diets.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why most people fail when they talk about making more money or diets, or they talk about, exercise routines or whatever. It's not an exercise routine. It's a lifestyle. It's just who you are.
You said money. People always say, I'm going to save because I want to be rich. You don't get rich by saving your money. I'll cut through that to help you understand that. It's not how it works. Now, do you have reserves in place to make sure that a rainy day and you have a savings account? Of course. But if you go look at the wealthiest people in the world, from Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and Gates and all of those extreme billionaires that are all over the TV, Mark Cuban, they get wealthy by investing their money, because that is America, and that's how financial literacy and financial growth actually happens. You send your money out into the world and it brings back friends, and you do that in a lot of different ways. And so you can find a way that is more interesting to you, whether it's a real estate asset class, the stock market, start a company, invest in companies, buy exotic paintings and antiques, buy cryptocurrency. There's lots of ways to invest capital. The question is, which one is more interesting to you and where's your risk profile? But it's not save it under your mattress. And so a lot of people say, well, I'm saving. I'm trying to stop living the way I was. So I'm saving my money. And I say, for what? Because if it's not, well, I need a fund in case I lose my job or something occurs. Fine. That's smart. That's conservative, prudent thing to do to ensure that you can have time in case something goes wrong. But otherwise, you're actually not building wealth. You're losing money because of deflation and inflation and how currency gets debased over time. And so I would encourage you to, again, look at what wealthy people do and follow the formula. And so I only mentioned wealth because you brought it up.
Yeah, no, yeah. Money is one of the things that I hear that I get asked the most. Money, and also relationships, which your relationship bank account, the book that everybody needs to go grab, because there's such amazing examples in there of just how to deposit funds, if you will, into other relationships, as opposed to what most people do. And I've been guilty of it. You go and contact somebody with the expectation of getting something from them immediately. They don't owe you anything. In fact, they never really owe you anything. But the more deposits you make into them, the more they feel the desire to give back to you, which is why it's so important that everybody goes and gets that book, which the link will be in the description, that everybody can check that out, as always. So anyway, I was going to grab it here. Bam, relationship bank account. That's I like that photo, by the way, the backwards cap. That's becoming a new trend now. People like guys with backwards caps. One of my favorite things, because it hides all this hairdo that I don't have.
I was a Ken Griffey Jr. fan growing up, so I always wore a backwards hat.
Dude, he had so much swag. Ken Griffey, man. He was talking about
cool.
confidence. Yeah, he just was. One of the smoothest swings ever in baseball. Amazing. Let's talk about money for a second. So let's say somebody like they might be starting out. They might be maybe, middle age, 35, 40 ish. And they're like, dude, I do want to get wealthy. I want to provide for my family and create a future. What would be steps? Let's just say starting out all the way up through that investment cycle that you're talking about. What would you recommend they do, and what steps should they take?
Well, first, I think there's a lot there, because it depends, how are you attracting money and how are you generating money. If you're not generating money through your profession and you make no money because you're working, minimum wage job, let's just say, so you're making the bare bone minimum anyone can make in the country, you got to start to change who you are so you can demand and command a higher earnings potential, and from your current employer or a new employer, right? You've got to be the person who can generate wealth, and it
Become
starts
more
by
valuable is what you're
yes,
saying. I
become
mean,
more valuable. Pick a field that you're interested in, that you're willing to put in the effort and go through, to become the person who can walk in and say, I'd like a raise, or I want this job. And it starts to create that opportunity for you, because if you're not learning, if you're not improving your own skills, then, and you're just waiting for a company to give it to you, it's never going to happen. So that's number one. But let's say you're a teacher, and so you don't have that freedom to do that. You are kind of confined by the profession of choice. One of the largest cohorts of millionaires in America are teachers. Most people don't know that.
I didn't
Most
know
teachers retire as a millionaire because they invest well. They do. So you have to become financially literate, which means you've got to understand how money works, how banking works, how debt works, how your credit works, and all the instruments around money. And it's so important because you live in America, we are a consumption-based economy, which means our economy runs on the fact that consumers, people in America, buy stuff. We are not China being the largest manufacturer in the world as a country. We actually buy things. We are a consumer-driven capitalist country, and it's all predicated on money. And money is power. He who has the gold makes the rules. So you've seen that in politics. You see that in business. So how do you accumulate that wealth? And so not all of us are ever going to be billionaires. So it doesn't mean that if you don't do that, you might as well do zero. But how do you build a quality life? Even if you are low income, how do you become middle income? If you're middle income, how do you become upper income? If you're upper income, how do you become rich? And if you're rich, how do you become uber rich, right? It doesn't matter where you are. There's a stepping stone and a ladder. And there's a reason why most people who win the lottery lose it. It's not like you're like, how can that person make $30 million and lose it in 5 years? Because they don't know how to keep $30 million. They weren't the person
They think
who
it'll
should
never
have
run out.
earned. Yeah, they weren't the person who would have earned $30 million. So therefore, they don't know what to do with it once they get it. So you've got to be the person who understands what wealth is, how it works. Obviously, smart things like, there's a reason when you look at like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, they don't wear designer clothing, right? They're wearing basic t-shirts, but they're worth billions. But then you look at a friend of yours who probably makes the same as you or a little bit more, and they're driving and wearing the fanciest clothes, the fanciest cars, and that's fine because that's what makes them happy, and there's no rule on how you spend your money. Money is a tool. If you like to buy exotic cars, buy exotic cars. If you like to buy fancy handbags, buy fancy handbags. There's no rule, and there's no judgment. But if you're buying the fancy handbags and you're not accumulating wealth, and you're saying, well, I can't get wealthy and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I'm going to tell you to pause buying the fancy handbags for a minute. Let's put that money to work and let compound interest occur, let growth occur, bet on the economy in the way that you need to. So your money works for you while you go to work to buy and get more money, to let it go work for you. And so wealthy people know how to make their money go and grow. And that's very important. And it can start as early as right now, literally right now. I mean, there's these, companies like Acorns, which is an app you download on your phone, and it'll round up your transaction. So if you spend $1.82, it'll take 18 cents and put it into the stock market automatically for you. So it goes as $2 on your checking account. So you don't notice it, but you're saving and investing without having to actually do it. So I did it for my daughter. She's my oldest, she's 19. So she's had it going since she was a senior in high school. She has like $11,000 in the stock market right now. And she never felt it. She also probably doesn't realize it's there because she's not checking it. But she's accumulated 11 grand through the stock market, and she probably only put about 4 or 5 grand in, but the stock market's done really well over the last 2 years. So however it's being invested has accumulated in value. Buying that home instead of renting, so you can have the equity advantage of real estate and what comes with it over the long run is a huge opportunity. And if you don't understand how to get that home, or homes are too expensive, because look at the economy right now, and the cost of ownership, of home ownership, is getting further and further away from obtainable for a lot of people, you have an obligation to yourself and your financial future to learn money and put it to work. And learning money doesn't just mean reading books, but it also means putting it to work, asking questions, going up to the people, mentors, coaches, groups that have the wealth you want, and say, and maybe even in your respected field, and say, I got to know, how did you do that? Right? I mean, if you ever saw the movie Pursuit of Happiness, they showcase when what inspired him to get into the stock market is he walked up to a guy with a Ferrari and said, I love your car. How did you afford it and what did you do? And he told him, and then he learned that industry, and now he owns many Ferraris, right? So it's what you want. And wealth is also options. People talk about, well, I need work-life balance. Well, work-life balance is great when you have money. But if you can't pay your bills, you don't have the freedom to not work on a Tuesday and go hang out with your children, or not work on a Thursday because you have to pay your bills and you're working 3 jobs and you can barely make ends meet. That's hard life. And so you've got to get out of it. And it's not going to happen overnight, but $1 invested today, compound interest, the best friend of yours is time. You can't go back in time. And you can go pull these calculators, go pull a compound interest calculator and just look at the difference between a 10-year investment and a 20-year investment. It'll knock your socks off.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Astronomical.
I mean, one of my favorite books is Tony Robbins' Money, Master the Game. And it talks about that. It talks about compound interest. You haven't?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
But I will.
Yeah, it should. It's in my little Tony Robbins section right over here in my bookshelf. But it's a really good one. It just talks about the stock market and looking at over time and investing small increments over time.
Sure.
And how that does compound over time and how that snowball effect, a really great example. And this is something I play golf a lot. I love doing this for fun against guys. And I say, hey, you want to bet a dime doubled every hole for 18 holes? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. By the end, it's like $18,000 is what the 18th hole is because of the compounding. 10 cents, 20 cents, 40 cents, 80 cents, $1.60, $3.20, $6.40, so on and so forth. And what happens is it's like, they don't realize it, but when you make the turn after 9 holes, they're like, wait a second. And then generally at the turn, you're like, okay, we're not doing that on the back 9, because otherwise they realize it's going to be the 18th hole is going to be worth 13 grand.
That's right.
So
I mean, I used to have an investment company that I had called smartinvestmentsystems.com, and it was built on this whole thing from sports betting. And we found a algorithm that worked. And so you would basically, I'd bet $100 to win. I bet $110 to win 100. If I lose, the next part of the algorithm is I got to win 220 to get back to even plus my 100. So I have to now win 220 on the next one. So I have to bet 440. If I don't win that one, well, now I'm out 660 on that one. So I need 660. So now I got to bet 1280 or 1320, and it keeps going. And you realize really quickly how the power of compounding can work against you or for you. And so it's how do you put it to work? And you do it in a way where it doesn't change your life. Because you could say, well, Jeff, I don't have the money to do that. Well, that's where an Acorns comes in. If you have some disposable income, what are you doing with it? You don't have to do the stock market. It's just one path, right? Bitcoin, real estate. There's real estate ETFs. I mean, there's gold ETFs. You can go buy a Rolex and watch how those things appreciated. You can pay attention to consumer behavior and get the right release of the Nike shoes before they come out and resell them on eBay and arbitrage the delta. There's a lot of ways to make money. Making money that's the beauty of America. That's why everybody wants to come here. There is no limit to how you can accumulate wealth in this country and do it. You just got to understand how and then make a commitment to doing that and realizing that if you have a home, can you refinance? If you have a credit card, are you carrying credit card debt? Because if so, that interest rate is killing you. Just what you pay in credit card debt alone over the course of the year invested could make you a millionaire in 20 years.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's little things like that, but you're talking about something that's not taught in schools, becoming financially aware, number one, but then financially literate, number two. Something that I explain to people a lot is I say, look, the first step is create a gap in how much you earn versus how much you spend. You got to create a gap. Otherwise, that gap, if there's no gap, it's really hard to build, put money to the side in order to invest into something into the future. Second thing I tell them is stop hanging out with people that don't have money and stop taking advice from people who don't have money. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you about the relationship side was because, how important is it to watch the people that are around you, that you surround yourself with, and what would you recommend people do, in that aspect?
Well, I like to, in my company, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. And in my social circles, I want to be the least ambitious and less knowledgeable, right? That doesn't mean that's always the case. And I don't cut you off when I'm ahead of you. I don't have friends that need me to be that resource. But when I'm trying to be and improve my social circles, I try to say, okay, if I want to pick real estate, like if I want to learn about real estate, who can I go and befriend? What groups can I join with sophisticated, knowledgeable real estate investors in my community? Whether it's a coffee shop that they meet once a month, and I find it on like Ebright or Eventbrite or whatever that website is, right? Or it's a Craigslist ad for a group that just wants to get together of like-minded. You got to start to be around people who are talking about the things that you need to learn and you need to talk about and you want to talk about. And you don't need to be an expert. Lose the ego and start as a beginner and a rookie. I mean, that's what stops a lot of people is they feel like, well, I don't understand it and it's a black box and it's scary, so I'm going to do nothing with it. Well, that's a choice. Mistakes are fine. Mistake done twice is a choice. And so if you keep making that mistake, you're not going to build the relationships necessary. And relationships are just as important. It's another form of wealth. In a way, it's better than wealth because dollars can only buy certain things. Money can't buy people. You can't buy me.
One of the things that you mentioned or that you do on multiple occasions in this book is you ask very wealthy, very influential individuals, a lot of them that have become friends of mine or people that I've modeled. You've asked them, would you rather have $1 million or would you rather have 1,000 friends, right? And or 1,000 connections, 1,000 relationships. And every single time, what do they answer?
Except for Neil Patel, they all answer the 1,000 people.
That's true. Neil said that. You're right. He said, "Oh, I'll take $1 million." Or
and so, he talks about compound interest.
Yeah, right. But the point though is that most individuals will say, "Look, the more people you know, the more relationships you have, the more you have a network of amazing individuals." That's how I've been able to grow, not only financially, but personally as an individual. I hear from other people and the principles keep coming about of the successful people, the wealthy people, the people that I admire as far as their lifestyle. They all have the same principles. It's create an amazing network of people that you can create relationship with and grow with and take your financials seriously in order to compound them over time, make an impact in the world that is, something that is core to you, that's authentic to who you are, and continue to work no matter what. The wealthiest people I know work more than the average individual because they're doing something that they feel a purpose and authentic with. So those are all the core things that I hear all the time.
Well, and I think you hit the last one so perfectly, which is, and I agree with all of them, but the wealthy people that you're referencing that work harder than everybody else, the reason they do that is because that's who they became and that's why they got the wealth. Mm-hmm. So they don't know how to stop doing those things because that's what allowed them to. It's like working out. You see very fit people at the gym working out every day. They don't have to work out every day, but they do. Why? Because that's who they were to become as fit as they are, and therefore they don't know how not to be that person. Yep. Same thing for the people who work really hard and are successful, and you go, they work so hard. That's who they are. And that's why they didn't do it to get the money. They did it to become the person that will attract the money. Therefore, that's who they became, and that's what they do. So when they don't know what to do, they do that, and that's the winning way to accomplish it. So you got to be, it all comes back to, you got to become the person, and you got to be aware, and you got to listen to shows like this. You got to read books. You've got to reach out, and don't be afraid. Send emails, send texts, send Instagrams, LinkedIn's, pay some money and join a course, pay some money and get a mentor or coach, take lessons. Don't be afraid if you lose some money because you picked the wrong one. We've all been swindled. We've all lost money. We've all not capitalized on opportunities, but you can't have a scarcity mindset. You got to understand that money is meant to go out and attract more of its friends. Knowledge is created from who you know and what you put yourself around. Success is a formula. You got to be around people and learn the formula and apply it. And it doesn't always work, but it works at a statistically significant amount of the time that the net result is success.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to take that as a final statement because that was so amazing. And I've been taking notes. I take notes on every person that I have on here, and it's so fun because I get to learn through this process as well. And, redefine myself and become better as I go. So everybody needs to, all the links, you can check out Jeff, all of his social media platforms, as well as links to his book, The Relationship Bank Account. I urge you to Google Everbowl and see where they are around you. Go there and have an amazing, nutritious meal. It's something that's up and coming. And if there's not one near you, then learn how to acquire one as a franchisee and or franchisor, I should say, and go out and get one of those and, connect with Jeff. Amazing dude, done some amazing things. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you giving this insight. Amazing information. And everybody, really, I say this a lot, but go back and watch it again and again and again, because every time you're going to get more information that you didn't have before. And the reason why you got the new information that you didn't hear before is because you became a new person every time you listen to the podcast, because you pick something up every time, which is why you should go back and listen to this. Way valuable and so many nuggets there. So everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of Fix Your BS. I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to challenge your own belief systems. If you're ready to take the next step and join the Fix Your BS community dedicated to your personal transformation, check out my coaching group by clicking the link in the description, where we'll work together to turn your dreams into your reality. Remember, the only thing standing between you and your goals is your beliefs and your actions. So let's fix them. Until next time, keep believing in yourself. I'm Dr. G. Thanks, Jeff, for being here, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much.